was jailed for child sex offences, has been killed in an attack in prison. The former Lostprophits singer, who was convicted in 2013, was attacked in Wakefield prison this morning. Our correspondent Alice Porter joins us now. What are the police saying, Alice?
Well, we understand this happened earlier this morning by a member of somebody at the prison who attacked Ian Watkins. Now, violence in prisons is, of course, very commonplace, but an attack like this that it resulted in a murder, in a death, is actually incredibly rare. But we understand this is not the first time he's been attacked. He was stabbed back in 2023, not fatally, and clearly that has changed this time, where we understand, according to sources, that a knife was used in this attack this morning. Now, we have got a statement from West Yorkshire Police who say at 9:39 a.m. this morning, police were called by staff at H&P Wakefield reporting an assault on a prisoner. Emergency services attended and the man was pronounced dead at the scene a short time later. Detectives from the Homicide and Major Inquiry team are investigating, and inquiries remain ongoing at the scene. Now, we understand that the prison went into a lockdown immediately after this attack. Now, it was 2013 that Ian Watkins, the former Lostprophits singer, was sentenced for a string of child sex offences, 13 offences, including the attempted rape of a baby. So he certainly would have been a high-profile prisoner, partly because of his fame. He was the lead singer in the Welsh band Lostprophits, which sold millions of albums around the world. But he also would have been vulnerable to being targeted because of the horrific crimes that he committed. And paedophiles are very vulnerable to being attacked in prison. But this attack happened just 2 weeks after a report from His Majesty's Chief Inspector for Prisons. Their representatives came and visited H&P Wakefield in the summer, and they have concluded that there's been a significant rise in violence at the prison. They said a 62% rise in violent incidents and a 72% increase in serious assault since their last inspection in 2022, with some inmates unable to leave their cells. So you get a sense there that there has been a significant increase in violent crime, violent assaults at H&P Wakefield. And unsurprisingly, Ian Watkins, who was sentenced back in 2013 for a string of sexual offences against children, would have been very much a target for any other inmates in the prison.
All right. Wow, you got to be kidding me. Excuse me. 13 offenses he had. Kind of crazy if you ask me. And then they said he was going to have sex with a baby or something like that. Man, did they have proof of this? I mean, he must have been convicted of something, right? Because he was in prison. But if you folks are not familiar with him, let's take a look at another thing that's out. You know, I really didn't pay any attention to this, but I guess it was a thing, and he was in prison. Is he an actor also? Yeah, I believe he looks like that actor, but let's listen to this a little bit.
I'm Saruti.
I'm Hannah.
And welcome to Red Handed. And today, we don't usually do this. We don't usually give warnings, because I kind of feel like if you're an adult listening to a true crime podcast, like, you know what you're letting yourself in for. But this week's episode, we wanted to give you guys a warning. This is a really fucked up story. There is a lot of child sexual abuse occurring in this story. We're not going to go into obviously the details of it, but we are going to talk about what we think is important to put the story into context. So if you don't feel like you're up for that, if you don't really feel like you can handle it, just don't listen. He's one of the most depraved people that I feel like I've come across in a long time. He's just fucking evil. He's like completely depraved. So you've been warned. With that, we're going to get started now. We're going to Wales today.
Have we been to Wales before?
Bloody hell, no.
Life is more legal
Never
than you
been
think,
to Wales.
and LegalZoom is here to help. Whether
Bloody
it's
hell, I
registering a
wanna go
business,
to Wales.
starting a will or trust, or staying on top of your
I have been to Wales before.
No, have we done a case? I meant not have you physically been to Wales.
Oh, right. So, like, thinking about the time I went to Wales and I stayed in this place that's pronounced Porthmadog, but it's written Porthmadog.
Porthmadog's beautiful. It's like a little chocolate box town.
Yeah, it was nice. It was nice. We
Well,
stayed in a
how
little
did-
static
how
caravan
did-
on the beach. It was
My
good. We haven't
question
been to
is-
Wales before, I don't think. So, first opportunity to crack out a Welsh accent just to, like, ease us into this.
How did this go on for so long and nobody did anything? How do you have that many counts of doing stuff like that? And how crazy do the stories get? I guess pretty crazy, but he's dead. He died today, I think they said, or late last night or something. Attacked in prison. Yeah, but I didn't know. I thought he was an actor or something. But then again, his rock star ego might have died. Right? He died, but now his actor life starts. Maybe, we don't know. But I can tell you what, that's pretty crazy. Let's get into some of this.
Horrifying case.
And
Have you got
probably
one?
We're
because
off to Wales.
he's from
today.
overseas.
not
That's probably why
terrible.
we don't hear
Down to
too
the
much
valleys.
about it.
No, that's that lot.
And
He's a
Almost.
valley boy. We're off to Wales. Down to the valleys. No, I've lost it. Can't do it.
I can say a Welsh name in a Welsh accent.
Go on. Say Ian Watkins in a Welsh accent.
No, it's a girl's name. I can only say
Oh,
one word in a Welsh
right.
accent.
Go on then.
Angharad.
Okay, good. So I can say we're off to Wales, off to the valleys.
Yep.
The only gay in the
Yeah.
village.
There's a Welsh version of Thomas the Tank Engine called Ivor the Engine.
Oh my God.
And I think it might be
Bloody hell,
older than
ladies.
Thomas the Tank Engine.
What the
and
heck
they're
is
all
a
Welsh in that, and that's
nepophilian?
what you sound like. You
Aw.
sound like the guy who narrates Ivor the Engine.
So I sound like an old Welsh train.
An old Welsh train, yeah.
Good.
I think his like woo woo whistle is a church organ or something.
Aw.
I think.
Oh, that's
So
all
I
very
can't remember.
nostalgic.
So I don't know why I was watching Ivor the Engine.
Yeah, I mean it's a very complicated story.
Nepophilia?
It feels like
It's
that.
very niche.
You know, I do need a little bit
What
of
is
a
that? It
breather
sounds something
before we get
sick,
into this
bro.
case because, like, if I don't laugh at least for the first 5 minutes of this story, I am going to fucking start crying and throw myself out of a window. So now I've laughed
Yeah,
for a
there's
bit.
not a lot of jokes in this
There's
one.
not a lot of jokes. There's not a lot of laughter. So let's get it out of the way. And I feel like the only other time the Welsh accent might creep up is when we say the word Pontypridd. I feel like it's hard to say Pontypridd without saying it in a Welsh accent.
Yeah, I don't think I can say it. I think I'm incapable of saying it. I really don't think I can.
We're going to find out soon.
Well, I hope it's in your bit.
Who knows? Right. So Ian Watkins was the lead singer of the British band Lostprophits. And like any rock star, he was, of course, adored by teenagers across the world. But the thing is,
I've never
they
heard
were
of
far
them.
too old for him because offstage, Ian Watkins
Sorry, I
was
never heard of the
depraved
Lost
beyond
Prophets.
belief. And like we said at the
Not
start,
here in
honestly,
America.
this case is a lot. This man committed some of the most awful acts imaginable. And the worst part, his victims were children and babies. Watkins used the power of his
Wow.
celebrity, coupled with aggressive
Children
manipulation
and
tactics, to
babies.
groom his female fans with children,
Maybe he
to
sold
both
his soul
give him
to the
access
devil.
to their children and also, unbelievably, to sexually abuse their own children for his pleasure. In 2012, when news first broke of the reason behind Ian Watkins' arrest, it brought to an end one of Britain's most successful rock bands of the early 2000s. The day it all came out, the band's website disappeared, their social media disappeared, retailers pulled their records from their shelves, and even paving stones engraved with the band's lyrics in their hometown of Pontypridd were pulled up and smashed. Now, the common themes that run through this case are strikingly similar to that of the case of, like, Jimmy Savile. Watkins was brazen. He delighted in his depravity. He barely hid his behavior. And to this day, he remains completely remorseless for what he did.
And as ever, we have to start at the beginning.
bloody well
David
do.
Carslake Watkins was born in Wales on July 30th, 1977. He grew up in Pontypridd in South Wales. And I did some looking into other famous people from Pontypridd, the drummer from AC/DC.
Ah. Oh.
Also
Rude.
from there. I thought Anthony Hopkins was from there, but he's not. So,
Oh.
sorry, fake news. That was my fault. He's from somewhere else that's a small village in Wales. I think Rob Brydon's from there as well. There's one village in Wales where it just like sprouts famous people that must be in the water.
Wales itself, as we find out in this episode, has like thrown a lot of very famous people out onto the world stage. Like Dame Shirley Bassey, Tom Jones.
Yeah, I feel like Adele might be Welsh.
She's like from North London.
Oh, I'll cut that out then. Someone else is Welsh. One of the many other pop stars is Welsh,
Good.
I think.
Good, top knowledge. But I did read this article and it was like, whoever you are, if you're from Wales and you're trying to be famous, you will always be in the shadow of Tom.
Well, they're not wrong.
No, it's not wrong, are they?
He's king of Wales.
How did
old
this
Tom
guy
Jones.
get away
Is he still
with
alive?
it? He must have
Don't
been
actually
rich.
know.
I think
Yeah.
I feel like
He
I
must
think
have had a lot of
There
money.
would have been a whole thing if he had died.
it would a national day of mourning.
Tom Jones is still definitely alive. We'll just cut this if he's dead.
If we've
You mean
left this
Tom
in,
Jones ain't
he's
even
alive.
from America.
Fucking breaking news, Hannah.
This is,
Tom Jones, alive.
who knew?
Still alive! Exclamation mark. God, we're procrastinating today.
We just don't want to get into it. So he's from this town in Pontypridd, where the drummer from AC/DC is also from, and he went to a local comprehensive called Hawthorne High. Academically speaking, Watkins did well
Wait a minute.
at school.
What drummer
He
are
was
they talking
always
from?
noted as
It's the
being
same
bright and a high
place
achiever.
as this
At
guy.
home, there was nothing
thought there was only
particularly
one
remarkable or
drummer for
noteworthy about his upbringing. His
AC/DC
father died when he was
Rick Lee.
5, and 3 years later, his mother Elaine married Baptist minister John Davies. Ian's mum, who seemed like a totally ordinary woman,
Daily.
said that Ian was loved, cherished, encouraged, and nurtured. We did our best.
Fly wankers.
He was a normal, happy young lad who grew up in the valleys, in a loving family, which had no more problems than anybody else has.
Should we explain what the valleys are? I feel like we've said it a lot of times.
Yeah, I mean, go nuts. Explain the valleys to the people of the world.
When I said that, I was
I
hoping
do
that
love
you
it
would
when you
explain what the
explain
valleys
things well.
are. So I think that the valleys is like the southern part of Wales. And it's just like very rural and it's like a lot of industry.
What's so funny? I mean,
Peacock.
besides everything.
Let's get started!
It makes you laugh.
Is there. Because I read this article about why so many like rock bands came out of the valleys of South Wales, and they said it was because it like fits with the industrial life that the people live there. It's just like a rural part of Wales, I think.
Wales. Didn't weren't one of the Beatles? Wasn't like Led Zeppelin from Wales or whatever, Pink Floyd or I mean there was many rock stars from Wales. But how the heck? My question is how did this guy, how big were? I don't know. I've never heard of them. I've never heard their music on the radio out here in America. So how do you get away with doing stuff like that? And he must have been in prison for something. I mean, why didn't we see it out here in America? I don't know. I'll have to ask one of my mods of why didn't we see this kind of stuff out here on this, right? 13 counts, plus he was a pedophilia, plus a nympho, whatever that is, nymphophilia, or whatever, who knows? I don't even know how to pronounce that word. And bloody hell, why? What is wrong with this world? They got so much money. Why would, you have all the money in the world and you're going to be abusing people? That's sick.
Yeah, I think you're probably right.
Let's leave it at that before I expose myself anymore.
After high school, Watkins went to the University of Wales in Newport, where he got a first in graphic design. After he graduated, he quickly got a job as a graphic designer, but he was always distracted by his music. At the age of just 14, Watkins and his school friends and future Lostprophits bandmate had started a band called Aftermath. They played mainly in Watkins' garden shed and their local park. Oh, Jesus God, what is this? Okay, this word begins with a Y.
Y and an N.
YNSANGHA. I can't.
No, so,
Jesus. What is it?
So I tried to have somebody say it to me on the internet, and it sounds like Annie Sanghad Park.
Okay. I used to live with a guy whose first language is Welsh, which is quite rare these days.
Was he an elf?
It sounds like goblins. So when he'd be on the phone to his dad, like asking for money or whatever, he'd be doing it all in Welsh. We also lived with an American, and she genuinely thought for the entire year that we lived together that Wales and Welsh were made up, and he'd been doing it for a joke the entire year.
I'd have no words. I have no
no.
words.
Yeah.
Good.
That was
I
a
thought
fun
they
flap.
sounded the
Anyway,
same.
so they're in the
Welsh, I think,
unpronounceable
is
park that
deep.
Cerusi did such a good job of.
London,
And
Welsh,
that
Welsh,
park,
Welsh,
17 years later,
Welsh,
Lost
Welsh.
Prophets would headline at the Full Ponty Festival.
So yeah, it's just crazy. It's like these kids, they're just like 14, 15, they start a band, they're just like fucking about the park with it. But 17 years later, they like headline a music festival there.
That's nuts.
I just think nobody thought anything of them, you know? But the thing is, like, they start with this band Aftermath, but perhaps feeling that Aftermath wasn't really getting anywhere, or maybe due to like changing music tastes, Watkins abandoned the thrash metal band Aftermath to start a new band called Fleshbind with a new mate, and again, future Lost Prophets bandmate Lee Gaze. Now, Fleshbind moved away from the like thrash metal of Aftermath, and it was heavily influenced by like American punk. And actually, Fleshbind were somewhat successful.
Fleshbind.
They even featured as a support act for Feeder in London. They're still
Sorry,
really young at
I've
this
never
point. But
heard of
again,
them.
the band, despite like the minor success, wasn't really working. So in 1995, Watkins formed a band called Public Disturbance. And again, it sort of fell apart. So finally,
Listen
in
to all the names. They're
1997,
just
they formed Lost Prophets. And they were
They
bang on
formed
trend
Lost
and right on
Prophets.
time. Because rock music of the South Wales valleys was booming in the 90s and early 2000s. Like we said, so many bands came out of this tiny part of the world.
I have to say, when I first read that, I was like, yeah, right, no, they didn't. And then they obviously do with this very impressive list.
Yeah, exactly. They do. This is the thing. And it's like, it is a super impressive list because the bands that come out, the like bands that come out of Wales during this very specific era were bands like Manic Street Preachers, Super Furry Animals, Stereophonics, Bullet for My Valentine, and Funeral for a Friend. And up until I'm going to say like a few
some
years
wild
ago, you would
names
add
out
Lost
there in
Prophets
Welsh,
to that
though.
list. And like we said, Lost Prophets came out of nowhere. And I think that was like their charm. They were just a bunch of like valley boys who had grown up together, making music that they loved. And Watkins, as their frontman, definitely had the outward personality and persona they needed to drive them forward. Just YouTube it and watch any interview with him. He's charismatic, cocky, funny, and he really was, I think, the main focus for the fans. And I can't stress just how big a band they were. They were touring all over the world. They'd cracked America and Japan, and the
Cracked
world was
America.
their emo oyster.
If you want to watch an interview with him that totally
How can someone crack America? And I've never heard their music on the radio. I mean, I'm not into punk or anything like that, but you think of bands, punk, you know, that have made it big from London or England. Well, you think of the Sex Pistols and Johnny Rotten and all them bloody hell blokes out there. Yeah, this band, I don't know. They might have. Maybe I was in a coma or just not paying attention, but I've never heard of the band. Let's continue to see what this guy's all about.
encapsulates his whole vibe. YouTube him on CD UK being interviewed by Cat Deeley and talking about how much he hates McFly.
Yes, exactly.
Like, that is the one.
And it's so funny because I watched the exact same one, and Sean Paul is sat next to him and looks deeply, deeply like uncomfortable.
Yeah, Sean Paul is like, this is the worst day
Yeah,
of
you
my
could
life.
be like, I'm a real band. I started this properly with my mates. Busted are like just put together, or McFly or whatever, just put together. But like, you don't say that on a TV interview with Cat Deeley.
No, you can't say not to
It's
Cat
also
Deeley.
like, it just sums him up. Like, he's such a narcissist, like just sat there slagging off other musicians. And yeah, look at Sean Paul's face. I feel so sorry for him. He's just like, who the fuck is this kid?
I don't think you could have two more opposite ends of the spectrum people, Sean DePaul and then fucking the front man of the Lost Prophets sitting on the same sofa. Only on CD UK could that happen.
It was perfect.
I might have heard of the name Lost Prophets, but the band, their music, I don't know. But it's obvious this guy did something very bad. There was 13 counts, something more than that, and supposedly got caught paying people to have sex with their own family so he can. That's just that. What makes somebody do something like that. I have no either very mentally ill or demonic. Well, they sold their soul or whatever, but I mean for one, you got money. The hell you messing with kids for? You can buy yourself a beautiful woman. Just madness, complete madness, if you ask me. Let's continue in this madness.
Perfect. It was perfect.
What excellent television. I miss the 90s.
Just the look on Sean Paul's face is the best thing. He's looking around, looking slightly baffled because he doesn't know who McFly are and he doesn't know who this guy is.
So after years of shed life for his various bands, Watkins and the Lostprophits finally hit it big in November 2000 when they released their debut album, The Fake Sound of Progress.
No matter where you farm, DeKalb brand has a product to fit your field. Every season is different.
2 singles to come out of this album, Shinobi vs. Dragon Ninja and The Fake Sound of Progress, soon became ubiquitous at rock and indie nights across the UK. In 2006, their third album, Liberal Transmission, entered the charts at number 1. Most of their early success was definitely before our time. We're about 10. The first song of theirs I was ever really aware of was Last Train Home, which came out in 2003. And this single was the band's joint highest charting in the UK, tied with Rooftops. That's the one I could... If you asked me to name a Lostprophets song, I think that's basically the only one I'd be able to do.
Last Train Home is the only one I knew. Like, absolutely. I was never like a fan of theirs, so...
No, I wasn't either, really.
No, I think that one was just sufficiently big enough that everyone heard it.
Do you know what's really weird? I was thinking about if I had any sort of Lostprophets.
Like, do you remember this happening? Because I just remember being, completely out of my mind shocked. Like, I'd never heard anything like this. It was crazy.
I remember reading, like, a headline that was like, Ian Watkins heads paedophile ring or something like that, but I never really got the details of it at the time, I don't think. Maybe because I wasn't that invested in the Lostprophets. I wasn't.
No, that's true. That's true.
But I am invested in poor H from Steps having the same name.
Oh my God, yes.
He can't catch a break.
So
Very
Steps,
possible.
everybody remembers the band Steps. Completely innocent band, completely innocent. H from Steps' real name is Ian Watkins. And he got fucking torn to pieces on Twitter by thinking it was him that was the paedophile.
Yeah.
It's not him.
Poor H from Steps.
It's not him. Leave Steps alone.
He just wants to do musical theatre.
He's so innocent.
But not everyone can have been totally surprised. Rumours about Watkins' sexual proclivity for young girls and children had been making the rounds on Lostprophets message boards for years.
But whether his fans or his bandmates had ever suspected anything, South Wales police had been told long before, 4 years before he was finally arrested, to be precise, because Ian Watkins was known to police and social services as early as 2008, but he had remained free to continue his abuse. Now, we come on to a main player in our story today now. She's a woman named Joanne Magelix, and I'm not sure exactly what I think of Joanne, so I won't tell you what to think, but I'm sure by the time we finish this episode, you'll see why it's not that simple to draw a conclusion when it comes to Joanne. So Joanne was a huge fan of the Lostprophets, and in particular of Ian Watkins. Watkins was very good at managing his public image, at least at the start, and he put out this nice guy image of him being a loving family guy. In 2008, he became an ambassador for the Kidney Wales Foundation because his mum had undergone a kidney transplant after waiting 7 years for the organ. Touched by his charity work, Joanne got in touch with Watkins on the internet. And unbelievably, because remember at this point, Ian Watkins is a household name, the two struck up a relationship. Joanne says that he swept her off her feet and that she fell in love with him.
That is so weird.
Isn't it? Like, imagine just like tweeting a celebrity and then they reply and you start a relationship with them.
That just doesn't happen. That's so bizarre.
It only happens when that person thinks that they can fucking manipulate you into something.
Aha. That would explain all these famous people and women emailing me. No, which one is it? Is it Brittany? Sweetie, I'll be home soon. Have dinner ready. Is it someone else? Is it a beautiful movie star or something? Just have dinner ready. I eat usually about 5, 6 o'clock, maybe 7. have a TV in the kitchen or in the front room where I can sit and eat. After I eat, I like to have a cigarette and then later on tea. All right, let's get back to just explain. Well, these ladies are telling the truth, right? You talk to a movie star or a rock star or whatever, and the next thing you know, they're interested in you. I would be careful. It would be a dream come true for some of us men. But women think differently than men. I'm not holding my breath waiting for any of these beautiful women to email me, let's start up a relationship. All right. It's just crazy. But then again, look at the world we live in and the things people believe in today still. Right? Well, we all heard it, blah, 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 witches, blah, blah, the devil, blah, blah, magic, blah, blah, the dark arts, witchery. So it's not too far-fetched. No, not anymore. Right? Not anymore. It's not. It's real, but it's fake. Well, if you can make sense out of that.
Joanne Magelix was an escort, but she insisted that the two were in love and their sexual relationship wasn't a professional arrangement. At first, things seemed great for Joanne, but then Ian Watkins started to say weird things to her. He told her that he loved sleeping with his 14-year-old fans and taking their virginities. And then he started to go even further. He told Joanne that he wanted to get her pregnant so that he could abuse their baby. And this feels to...
Okay. Now that's crazy. I'm dumb. I'm an idiot. But that's just crazy. So he's admitting to people that he's sleeping with hundreds of young kids, girls, 14 years old, and then he wants some woman to get pregnant, have a kid, so he can abuse the kid. This is just complete madness. I'm shocked that Wells is even still on the map, but let's continue with that bloody hell.
Me like he's testing her. He's checking, how far can I go? What will this woman allow me to do? Joanne said that at this point she threatened to report Ian to the police. He begged her not to.
It takes so little to make a dog happy. For Big Ben, it's daily.
And got his lawyers to draw up a gag order. And she signed it. Can you imagine going into a room full of lawyers and be like, so basically, I told her that I want to fuck kids. Can you write up a really specific gag order for that specific thing that I've said, please? Who are these lawyers?
The whole thing is, this whole bit of this story is so bizarre because, he goes and gets this gag order drawn up. And the gag order basically says that everything she's saying about him or anything she might say about him is a lie. And then he gets her to sign it and she signs it.
And she doesn't just sign it. Watkins gave her £2,000, which she took. I don't really understand what's happened here. She says that she's horrified, rightfully so. Then she threatens to go to the police, but ends up signing away her freedom to talk about her fears and taking money from the person. You know that what you are doing is wrong.
I don't understand at all, because she says, at the start in the interview, she says, even though I'm an escort, our relationship was purely based on love, he wasn't paying me for it. But then she says, when she takes this $2,000, she says it was him paying her for her escorting services. But when you read the gag order, it's in there as part of consideration in the contract. So it's, I'm giving you $2,000 to take away you selling this story or you doing anything with this information, and you sign away your right to talk about it publicly. And she signs it. That's the thing. And somebody is saying all these fucked up things to you and you're that horrified. Why threaten to report him? Why not get the fuck away from him and go report him? Or at least just get the fuck away from him.
I don't know. I think when it comes to famous people, really famous people, gag orders are just pretty much part of the day-to-day. I've heard, I don't know if this is true, but a friend of mine claims to have slept with a footballer.
A friend of mine.
People.
Joanne, when she receives this image from Ian Watkins in December 2008, she went to Children's Services and reported Ian Watkins. She told them all about the weird stuff that Ian had said to her, and she explained that he had recently told her that he had given an infant cocaine and touched the child in a sexual way. And she said she had proof. She gave them the photo that Ian had sent her. It was a photo of a young girl of about 4 years old who was holding a framed photo. In the frame, there was a picture of a half-naked woman, but on the glass of the photo frame, there was a line of white powder. And in the girl's hand, the 4-year-old girl's hand, there was a rolled up £20 note. That is such a bizarre, image to even, try.
I'll leave it up to the Welch to come up with a story like this. This is just horrifying. My condolences to the families that were tortured. But this ain't nothing new. If you look back in history of London and England, of what they were doing back then, there's a lot of stuff out saying that some of their people were part of some kind of thing or something. And it's very, very scary stuff. It's very crazy. It's very, how could this happen? Well, how did Hitler happen? How did, all these other people, Bin Laden, how did all these people, how did it all happen? Who knows? But this is just too crazy. I don't even know if we should listen to the rest of it, because this is just, but depending on where you are in the world, I guess, and how much money you have, and if you got a good lawyer team or whatever, yeah, I can see how people get away with this stuff. Right? I mean, that's just a little bit crazy, like putting it all out there. Photos of him with young kids and saying that he sexually abused them and showing that. Now, that's pretty crazy. That's pretty crazy stuff.
To imagine in my mind.
How would you explain to a 4-year-old how to do a line of coke? How do you? I can't get my head around it. I just can't get my head around
There's
it.
so much of this case. Now, when Watkins had sent Joanne the image, he had told her that white powder was cocaine, and he said that the little girl was, quote, super flirty, saying, "You know what little girls are like." Now, when telling children's services everything, Joanne...
Yeah, I mean, this is pretty crazy. I mean, so crazy. It's hard to believe that it's true. But if true, yeah, I mean, everyone's going crazy again about the Ed Gaines or whatever his name was. Now, because of the Netflix or whatever had this thing out a year ago or 2 years, however long it was. A lot of people don't realize there was many movies made from that. And he did do sick and crazy stuff. No one knew. Went on for a long time. So, but here's the thing. He was poor. He didn't have money. This guy, Ian Watkins or whatever, has got tons of money. And why the heck have you got, I don't know, a power thing, a power trip, or just pure mental demonic or something? Who knows? I don't know. That's just pretty crazy. But it's also, if you look in history, this has happened before in London and England. Kids missing and doing crazy stuff. So, but that was a different era, different time, different leaders, So maybe back then it wasn't. They're pretty open out there with sexual stuff and, sleeping with what seems to be like 17, 18-year-old girls or whatever, maybe younger or something. But you always think it's just rumors, right? It's just stories, rumors, somebody pissed off, But when you're sending this stuff, photos and talking to people and saying stuff like that, and I don't know, an image, do you really want to have an image like that that you're some idiot and some sicko and you're sleeping with young girls and babies and doing crazy stuff. And what's next? Sacrificing these children? Probably if someone didn't catch them. It's just crazy. I don't know. So there you go. This is, I've never heard of this guy, but I'm going to finish listening to this interview or whatever they're doing on this guy. And we don't know on this channel. I'm letting you folks know we have no idea if any of this stuff is true. We don't know. You know, it's just other people maybe trying to start. We don't know. We have no idea. But it does sound pretty crazy and spooky. And I imagine there'll be movies made of this. So pretty crazy, if you ask me. And what we're starting to see is it's common, right? We're seeing more of this. Pretty crazy, if you ask me. And I'm not going to play any more of this because I imagine it gets more crazier as it goes on, because I guess he had 13 or more counts of something and something to do with children. And so that's pretty crazy. And we'll leave it at that. Condolences to everyone's family affected by that. Horrible. Wish it upon no man or woman. And we'll get back to you when we find out more information. But as far as we know now, they're saying that he died from an attack in prison, stabbed to death or something. So, wow, crazy stuff. You folks have a great day. God bless. We'll be back.